The Ministry of Timelines bears no official responsibility for the content of this research. Successful passive observation teams have reported multiple Level 4 temporal anomalies in the Galactic Republic. Multiple observation and extraction teams have been inserted into this timeline to secure these new assets for the Ministry. (2328) Mars signed a migration treaty with the Galactic Republic after a very close vote. The citizens decided to allow the cats onto Mars, in a stark change of policy given their animosity towards aliens. It seemed that even in a timeline without anime, the promise of catgirls was still far too much temptation for some. The faraway colonies discovered the secrets of the Irasian Precursors in 2334. Scientists managed to incorporate the Irasian artifacts into their research, unlocking the wonders of cyto-revitalization. The leaders of Faraway were uninterested in this breakthrough, probably because they had no idea what it did. It wasn't freezing things, that was cryo something. Whatever it was, they put it on the back burner while someone looked for a scientific dictionary, and instead they focused on rebuilding the legendary Irasian naval yards. Samples of the pox that wiped out the Irasians were also discovered amongst the ruins of their homeworld, which wasn't the least bit ominous or Chekhovian. Mars took a vote on Catgirls for All in 2336. Some called it madness, but only those closed to new and allegedly amazing experiences. Now where's my fursuit? After many decades of meditation, the greatest psionics in Faraway were finally able to call to the great beings of the Shroud. It had taken them so long because they experienced constant psionic interference from the Pharyngean Assembly. Once the dumb trees were tuned out, a pact was formed with the composer of Strands, who promised Faraway the power they needed to free the whole galaxy. Let's hope it wouldn't involve a monkey paw, eh? The Catlactic Republic ended the session early in 2337, causing the extension of their custodianship amid cries of it being decidedly undemocratic. They didn't care, as it served their agenda. Faraway was elected to the Galactic Council in the same year, to great celebration by the colony. It had taken many years of forging positive relationships, denying their very successful spy networks existed, and considerable diplomatic efforts, including calling in every favour they could, but it was all seen as worthwhile. No one had told them that they were getting the seat by default, the council membership having been increased by 1, because it was funnier to see them do all that for nothing, I suppose. A formal negotiation was held in 2338 concerning the possible integration of Faraway into the Custodians Federation. It was a savvy compromise by the colonies, if it meant that the Custodians pushed the much-wanted greater-than-ourselves legislation. In the middle of the formal negotiations, however, the reigning monarch of the Cats started coughing, which soon turned more to choking. This caused considerable concern for the monarch's health, at least from the non-cats present. The cats merely continued the negotiations as if nothing was happening, stunning the other diplomats into inaction. It was all cleared up when the monarch instead coughed up a hairball, which then needed more clearing up. When asked why they were not supporting the greater-than-ourselves legislation, a measure that would enforce basic rights and freedoms for all sapient creatures, the Galactic Custodians lazily declared that some people just don't deserve rights. Faraway made an emergency measure for the greater good. Having failed to leverage their new position on the Galactic Council to strike a deal with the Custodian, how could they not see it was for the greater good? The greater good. It was right there in the name. A Galactic Defense Force was proposed by the Custodians in 2340. The Blom didn't like the sound of it. They said that it sounded like hard work. No, hang on, let me check my notes. Oh no, they just said it sounded like work. The Accords planet known as the Cat's Family Brewery became the galaxy's largest brewery in 2340. The large planet was almost entirely dedicated to the brewing of the most popular drinks available, from the galactically acclaimed Not Beer to the somewhat more niche Catnip Water Deluxe, and everything in between that got the planet known everywhere, except Earth, where knowledge of aliens remained verboten. The cats still shipped there though, but mostly just their cat piss in bottles labelled Heineken, or Budweiser, whichever people find regionally funnier. Galcom was called over the GDF proposal in 2341. Worried that the cats could potentially end up with all of the fleets, the faraway colonies and the Pharyngians tried to tie up the law in red tape. The Catlactic Republic argued that the fleet was needed to fight a potential future crisis, even though no one should be worried about it because there wasn't a crisis right now, but it should be established just in case there was a crisis at some time, somewhere. Probably. The galaxy, unexpectedly, wasn't entirely convinced by their reasoning, and with Mars opposing this galactic defense force, the legislation failed to get the signatures. Later that same year, a giant metal cat girl was left outside of a Blom alloy plant as a gift, which the Blom happily took into their plant. The Mars Patriots, watching hidden outside at a safe distance, were secretly happy that their plan was working, and that all they had to do was wait until the plant closed for the night and they could sneak out of the cat girl and sabotage it. That was until someone pointed out that weren't they supposed to be inside the cat girl before it got taken in? What was meant to be a raid to dismantle the Blom's alloy capabilities instead bolstered their production lines with an extra 10,000 units. Mars's face went very red. The faraway colonies got a telemarketing call from the communal state of Rock in 2342. Trying to get around the call, not wanting to be rude by simply hanging up, the leader of Faraway pressed 5, which was not one of the options. Unfortunately, this genius plan backfired when instead of bamboozling the automated system, he was put through to Super Agent Steve. More quick thinking from the faraway leader, as he then pretended not to speak the same language by saying he did not speak the same language in the same language. He hung up feeling undeservedly smug. The faraway colonies fully developed terraforming technology in 2345. The science behind it was truly ground-shaping. Thank you, I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waiters. The Pharyngians left the Southern Federation to join the Northern Federation in 2346, shattering the delicate balance of power in the galaxy and leaving the Blom politically isolated. The captain of Faraway approached this Northern Federation a year later, also looking to join the Trade Alliance. They first secured association status, a non-aggression pact, and quickly signed a similar agreement with the Accords. Free movement of humans was guaranteed across their territories. No mention was made of cat girls. An oversight, I am sure. The Farawayan diplomatic corps toured the galaxy in 2348, looking to drum up support for a ban on organic slave trading. No one really seemed to care, probably because they didn't have any good t-shirts or tote bags at their merch table. Although the Rock people were particularly aggrieved at the passive-aggressive attention given to organic slave trading, but they were happy to be used as furniture when it suited them. Stupid rocks. Having failed to get any support from the wider galaxy, the faraway colonies decided on a much more direct approach to free the downtrodden. Their lawyers pointed out, after careful examination of the current intergalactic treaties, that they could attack the Blom without fear of repercussions from other galactic factions. That's how much the galaxy didn't like these exotic gas-huffing mushrooms. Faraway immediately declared war on the Blom, and launched fleets into action. A little while later, they also remembered to state that their goal was to liberate the Gnogians from Blom space, but everyone knew it was mostly just to attack the Blom. An emergency galactic community session was called within a year, as the Galactic Republic and their allies condemned the faraway colony's attack on the Blom. The Accords, noticing the way the wind was blowing, as well as harbouring old grudges, sided with the aliens against Faraway, leading to the Blom begging Faraway be declared a crisis. The Space Cats pushed the motion to the Senate floor, which, if passed, would lead to the total annexation of Faraway, the genocide of all cloned humans, and the end of the cloned way of life. It was quite the escalation in response to a war of liberation. Faraway considered firing their lawyer who had given them the initial advice, but decided it was probably the wrong time to go without legal representation. And at least Lionel Hutz was cheap. Meanwhile, the Faraway Navy melted all Blom opposition in space, allowing them to occupy previously Gnogian worlds with little to no local resistance. If you can't justify a war by its success, then what's the point of war? Isn't history written by the victors? The Accords uncovered evidence that the destruction of Venus some 250 years earlier was not a random meteorite, but the work of a malevolent intelligence. An emergency committee was established to ascertain the true nature of this alien threat, with early evidence clearly linking the destruction of Venus to that of the other nearby homeworlds, along with the tungsten bullet that obliterated half of the Lord's fleet over 100 years before. The composer of Strands demanded that a champion be sent into the Shroud in 2351. The Farawayan ruler chose himself to go. A bold choice, one that ended with them dying in the Shroud after enduring, well, let's not think about that too much. The good news was their return to the material world as a powerful psionic avatar, a creature able to cross the void of space and destroy warships through thought alone. The composer was blessing the war. The Galactic Republic demanded an end to the war between Faraway and the Blom, despite it being largely bloodless and thoroughly the fault of the mushrooms in the first place. Nevertheless, the Faraway colonies called a temporary halt to their fleets and offered to end the war immediately, the sole demand being that status quo was maintained, which would guarantee the release of a new Gnogian state from the currently occupied former Gnogian worlds. The new state, however, would fall under the realm of the Faraway colonies, a situation deemed unacceptable to the Galactic Republic, who redoubled their efforts to declare Faraway a crisis. The Accords wholeheartedly continued to support the extermination of Hawaiian humans. But by 2353, cracks had started to appear between the Galactic Republic and her allies. Questions were raised about the very idea of genocide, and whether the Faraway War was actually justified. The Pharangians, who had just annexed one of their neighbours, were of the opinion that annexing weaker nations was simply the natural order. Those pizza-orientated factions remained of the opinion that mushroom was good and pineapple was bad. The natural order. With their fleets broken, no help from the galactic community in sight, and tired of the endless arguing and having to press so many buttons, the Blom leadership surrendered unconditionally in 2355. The Gnogian Republic was founded. Not wanting to have to make the same kind of endlessly difficult decisions like they had done during the war, the Blom demanded the same help that the fledgling Gnogian Republic received from Faraway. The Faraway colonies begrudgingly agreed to provide temporary military protection and economic aid to the Blom, under the condition that they aided the Faraway colonies in freeing the rest of the galaxy, and they must put some effort into making their own decisions for goodness sake. The Blom replied, "Yes sir, whatever you say, O great overlord, tell us what decisions to make and we will make them." Thus was created a horrible monster. The end of the war also saw the end of the calls to make Faraway a crisis. The Galactic Republic quietly withdrew their motion. 2357, and the Accords were able to triangulate the origin of the giant tungsten bullet that had obliterated Venus. They travelled to that system, the system of their old aggressors, but on arrival discovered it to be barren. The asteroid belt, rather than merely being mineral poor, as so many are, was stripped entirely. Where there would be minor planetoids rich in rare metals, there was but dust. However the gargantuan bullets had once been constructed, it was clear the system lacked any of the resources to do so now. All that was left was a lone habitable planet and, despite their best effort to remain hidden, preventing radio emissions, limiting the use of artificial lights, the Accords detected life. The Accords decided not to exact vengeance on the primitive people that remained, in what would be a cruel punishment for crimes committed centuries ago, on a civilization that could in no way either protect itself or retaliate. Longer investigations, however, made clear that this was merely one outpost of many more. Astronomers across human space were put on high alert, searching the skies for any more planet-busting tungsten shells, or just planet-busting shells in general really, tungsten or otherwise. Come on guys, does the material really matter if the shells are bigger than planets? I thought we'd been over this. Realising the Blom really wanted to be vassalized, the Accords offered the Blom the opportunity to have the Accords be their acting parent instead of the faraway colonies. Despite making the claim that they did not want the Blom as a vassal, the faraway representative quickly shooed the Blom out of the door, lest they become slaves to the Accords. To the confusion of the Accords leaders, the Blom referred to the Farawayan leader as Captain Overdaddy Bow Uwu. The captain shuddered and felt a need to take a cold cleansing shower. The peaceful, calm nation of Mars sorry, I can't keep a straight face for that. No, the angry, warmongering dicks of Mars wanted to push their death and destruction output to the next level in 2362, and voted to acquire the pox from far away, offering to subsidize any future war effort of the faraway colonies. Faraway agreed, if only to stay on Mars's good side. Captain Bao Wan, ruler of Faraway, was anointed as a chosen one in 2363 and became immortal thanks to the composer of Strands. Some called for the creation of a cult around the captain, although Bao Wan humbly refused. It could be an opportunity missed, given that the captain is a position granted for life. They may well be the last captain of Faraway. In 2365, Mars sensibly decided that genocide was a step too far and destroyed all samples of the pox they acquired. No, of course they didn't. What they actually did was create a mutated strand specifically to wipe out all cats and catgirls living on Mars. This new pox was deployed to devastating effect, removing all space cat infiltrators from, no, let's call it what it is, genetically cleansed the catgirls from Mars. What have you done? We had catgirls. You finally did it. You maniacs. You killed them all. Fearful of reports of military movements by the Galactic Republic, and to safeguard the human race from any aliens that might seek to attack humans anywhere, the faraway colonies approached the Accords and suggested for a mutual defensive pact. The Accords wanted time to think about it, but in a colossal clusterheck, secret Accords battle plans were delivered not to the capital of the Galactic Republic, but to Faraway. The battle plans revealed the Accords pledged their support to the Northern Federation and would attempt to regain their lost subject, the Faraway colonies. Faraway was shocked. Shocked, I tells ya. Citing them as a rogue state, the Galactic Republic formally declared war on the faraway colonies, claiming it was a mistake to let them be free of the Accords' great leadership. With the Hawaiian Navy deployed to the east of the galaxy, Faraway was in no position to stop the Accords from blockading their home. Begun, the Clone Wars had. Sorry, but remember how the Faraway colony comprised entirely of clones? It is a whole plot point. Anyway, that makes it an easy reference, and I'm contractually obliged to include it. 2368. The Galactic Republic, coordinating with the Pharyngian Assembly and the Accords, caught the faraway colonies and the Blom completely by surprise, knocking out all local space-based defences near Faraway and pushing into Blom territory. This time, the Accords decided to launch an invasion on Faraway. millions of troops were deployed, and the crank began to turn on the bloodiest of meat grinders. The Hawaiian Navy chanced a daring attack on the Galactic Republic, made more daring still with no way of returning to Far Away, as the wormhole connecting the east of the galaxy to Earth's sector was blockaded by the Accords. But short of surrender, this was seen as their only real option. Both sides fell prey to sabotage and espionage, seeing entire fleets destroyed by covert action and industrial centres laid to waste by targeted attacks. Within the first year of the war, the death toll on Far Away entered the billions, counting both soldiers and civilians. Desperate to find a way to end this war and protect the lives of their people, Far Away purchased the anti-cat pox from Mars. It was smuggled out to their fleet fighting in Galactic Republic space by the Martian Patriots. The last major space battle of the Clone Wars in Havonshire was a close victory for Far Away. With the Galactic Republic fleets in retreat, the Far Away Navy pushed in to the Galactic Republic home system. Within striking distance of the Cat homeworld, Far Away's Navy demanded an end to the war, the execution of the Cat King Mulius Caesar, and the reorganization of the Galactic Republic, who would have to adopt the constitution and legal system of the Far Away colonies, or face complete obliteration at the hands of the Pox. The Galactic Republic surrendered. The rest of the Alliance would only ratify the treaty if the weaponized Pox were destroyed. A few systems on the Pharyngian Blom borders changed hands, and the Blom were no longer allowed to hide behind Far Away's long skirt. Far Away agreed to the terms. The war was over. It had been short, but unimaginably bloody, having claimed the lives of billions. As the Accords withdrew from Far Away, the planet was in ruins. 3/4 of the civilian population lay dead, but it had not surrendered, and so started an uneasy truce between Far Away and the Accords. This concludes our analysis of the Clone Wars era. Please refer to the next chapter of this report for further details on the Accords timeline.